welcome back to our channel. We are Talks with Torah Women. Today we are sharing our thoughts and opinions on the book of Esther, chapter 5. We are Torah-believing women who are studying together and discussing our views and beliefs that we have come across and feel convicted about. We intend for our channel to be just for women. Men who choose to stay and listen do so at their own discretion. Any sort of derogatory or nasty comments will be deleted and you will be blocked. In this show today, we have Sierra Burleson. She's from Tennessee. She's been married for 3 years. She's a stay-at-home mother of 2, and she's an online ESL teacher. And then I am Gabrielle. I'm 28. I'm from Oklahoma. I've been married for 7 years. My background is in health and wellness nutrition industries, and I'm aspiring currently to become a holistic nutrition coach. And I also currently operate in in-home daycare as well. And then we also have Gabby Falks. We married into the same family. She's from Arizona. She's been married for 6 years. She's a mother too, and she's also a flight instructor. And then later on, we might have Monica joining us on our show tonight. She's not here currently yet, but she's from California. She's an international education or English instructor and founder of a language school. She loves linguistics and language and learning, and she is also a college professor. So Sierra is going to read Esther chapter 5 for us tonight, and then we'll discuss it.
Esther 5. On the third day, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the king's palace in front of the king's quarters, while the king was sitting on his royal throne inside the throne room opposite the entrance to the palace. And when the king saw Queen Esther standing in the court, she won favor in his sight, and he held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. Then Esther approached and touched the tip of the scepter. And the king said to her, "What is it, Queen Esther? What is your request? It shall be given to you, even to the half of my kingdom." And Esther said, "If it please the king, let the king and Hamon come today to a feast that I have prepared for the king." Then the king said, "Bring Hamon quickly, so that we may do as Esther has asked." So the king and Hamon came to the feast that Esther had prepared. And as they were drinking wine after the feast, the king said to Esther, "What is your wish? It shall be granted to you. What is your request? Even to the half of my kingdom it shall be fulfilled." Then Esther answered, "My wish and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my wish and fulfill my request, let the king and Hamon come to the feast that I will prepare for them, and tomorrow I will do as the king has said." And Hamon went out that day joyful and glad of heart. But when Hamon saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he neither rose nor trembled before him, he was filled with wrath against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Hamon restrained himself and went home, and sent and brought his friends and his wife Zeresh. And Hamon recounted to them the splendor of his riches, the number of his sons, all the promotions with which the king had honored him, and how he had advanced him above the officials and the servants of the king. Then Hamon said, "Even Queen Esther, let no one but me come with the king to the feast she prepared, and tomorrow also I am invited by her together with the king. Yet all this is worth nothing to me so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate." Then his wife Zeresh and all his friends said to him, "Let a gallows 50 cubits high be made, and in the morning tell the king to have Mordecai hanged upon it. Then go joyfully with the king to the feast." This idea pleased Hamon, and he had the gallows made.
Okay.
Any
So I was just going to point out in the Bible that I'm reading from, yours says the 50 cubits, and this says 75 feet high. for the gallows, which I thought was like extraordinarily high.
Isn't cubits is like pretty high though? It's almost like feet, isn't it? Or no?
It's more than, yeah, it's like more than a foot. I thought 1 cubit is like 18 inches.
Okay, a little bit more.
Yep.
Yeah. So could you imagine like a 75-foot like gallows?
5 foot
Like
or 50?
75 foot.
75, okay. It's like,
Doesn't that seem a bit extreme?
Yeah. He definitely wanted it to be seen from a far distance, I'm assuming.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. That's really.
what do you guys think about why Esther, first of all, invited them for the feast and then invited them again? And I think this happens, I mean, moving on to the next chapter, doesn't it happen like a few more times or just one more time?
I think it's just one more time after this. I thought that was interesting too, though.
You think it was just something? I mean, Hamon seems pretty happy about it. He seems so content with being invited to the feast.
Yeah, because it's like special treatment. Like only Queen Esther had just me and the king. He's like their third wheel.
Yeah, he's all happy about
And
it.
he's happy about it.
You think it was just for him? You think it was? I'm trying to figure out what was Esther thinking. What was her plan with all this? Just to
Sugarcoat him?
what's that?
Maybe to sugarcoat him?
Yeah, like buttering him up. But it's kind of weird because, he tells her twice, like, whatever you want from me, like, I will give you up to half of my kingdom. Just ask it.
Yeah, and she's like, and then she says, "Okay, come again tomorrow." Let me find it again. So when he asks again after the feast, she says, so verse 8. This is a very short chapter. If I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it pleases the king to grant my wish and fulfill my request, come to the feast. I will prepare tomorrow, and I will do as the king has said. What did he say though? He didn't really say anything, did he? And I will do as the king has said.
Mm-mm.
Grant my wish. She hasn't stated a wish yet. I mean, I'm sure this is all like maybe.
It's just kind of like a build-up, you know? It's kind of how I see that. Like she's saying, like, her wish is for him to come to the banquet,
Okay.
the second banquet.
Okay. I will do as the king has said. Maybe like, yeah, her first request is for him to come. Her second request is for the king to come again.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of like on the third, that's when
Maybe it's because, so like in the chapter before this, she hadn't seen him like in 30 days. Okay. And then she goes into fasting and prayer. She's in like sackcloth and like dirtiness and is putting dung on her head. Okay. And then day 3, it just, at the beginning of 5, she cleanses herself and she puts on her royal robes. And I kind of feel like she's like putting on her like armor or, just like sassy pants. Like, we're doing this. Yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? But not that she had an attitude, but I just kind of see it like this is happening. And, she goes and then it says like she's just standing there like in the courtyard area and he sees her and he just has faith. She just has favor just from him seeing her, which I thought was like pretty powerful because the day before she had dung on her head. Like,
pretty gross.
it's a really good cleanup. She's obviously that's, probably Yehovah, like helping his heart, like persuading his heart or whatever. But, like, you know, and then he tells her, like, whatever you want, up to half the kingdom, I'll give it to you right now. Just tell me what you want. So, yeah, I kind of see her inviting them to the second banquet, as in, like, she didn't want to spoil, like, her time. Maybe she didn't want to, like, spoil her time with him because she hadn't seen him in 30 days. And she didn't know how it was going to go, you know, like, if they were going to quarrel or if he was going to behead her for approaching him without him summoning her.
Yeah, the Septuagint has verse 1, and it's really long. I'll just scroll through it if you can see it. This is verse 1.
Oh, wow.
What does it say? Could you read it?
And it came to pass on the third day, when she had ceased praying, that she put off her mean dress and put on her glorious apparel. And being splendidly arrayed, and having called upon God the overseer and preserver of all things, she took her 2 maids, and she leaned upon one as a delicate female, and the other followed, bearing her train. And she was blooming in the perfection of her beauty, and her face was cheerful, and it were benevolent, but her heart was straitened for fear. And having passed through all the doors, she stood before the king, and he was sitting upon his royal throne, and he had put on all his glorious apparel, covered all over with gold and precious stones, and was very terrible. And having raised his face resplendent with glory, he looked with intense anger, and the queen fell and changed her color as she fainted. And she bowed herself upon the head of the maid that went before her. But God changed the spirit of the king, gentleness, and in intense feeling he sprang from off his throne and took her into his arms until she recovered. And he comforted her with peaceable words, and said to her, What is the matter, Esther? I am thy brother. Be of good cheer. Thou shalt not die, for our command is openly declared to thee. Draw nigh. And then this is verse 2. And having raised the golden scepter, he laid it upon her neck, and embraced her, and said, Speak to me. And she said to him, I saw thee, my Lord, as an angel of God, and my heart was troubled for fear of thy glory. For thou, my Lord, art to be wondered at, and thy face is full of grace. And while she was speaking, she fainted and fell. Then the king was troubled, and all his servants comforted her.
Wow.
Quite a bit of
That's like,
detail.
that's so much better than this. Okay, so summary. Let me see if I get this straight. She's walking with her 2 maidservants, and she's really, really, really nervous, right? And fearful that she's like about to die, probably. She shows up close to the king, and then she just can't handle it, and then she almost faints, right?
Leans forward onto the other, like, she goes to bow, and then she just, like, can't get up.
Yeah, when she saw his face and how he looked troubled and upset.
Oh, okay.
Probably like, my head's about to be gone.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like, that's why I was saying, like, I feel like she invited him to a second banquet because, like, she didn't want to spoil the day because she hasn't seen him in 30 days and thought that she was going to be, like, decapitated or whatever they did.
Okay.
Like, and especially after that reading, like, it really seems like that's why she invites to a second banquet.
She might have been like, oh, I'm not ready for this yet.
Yes.
Ask that, probably.
But so ask for something small, you know, like asking for an inch, but she's about to take a mile. Like,
I also kind of see it as serving him with the feast. She's serving him by doing the banquet the same way as you guys said, buttering him up, you know. She's not just there to take and ask. She's there to kind of serve for a little bit, and then later she's going to ask, like, yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like, he has 127 provinces, and how many wives did we say? Like 5.
I remember.
I don't think it said.
Okay. I guess we talked. But we know that, like, every single virgin from the 127 provinces was brought in, and it took her a year plus 10 months to even be called by name to go in to see him.
Mm.
So I feel like, you know, like, it's like you have to get reacquainted, like, all over again. with your husband. And not only that, but he has the authority to kill you because he did not ask you to come see him.
She probably just flat out chickened out.
I don't know. It might have been like it seems like she was under a lot. I mean, what she's going to ask of him, like she's under a lot of like weight.
Yeah.
Like she's probably like in turmoil, like inside, and that's why she just collapsed. But I think it's really awesome that in that version, that reading of it, it says, that Yehovah moved his heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just kind of goes to show you like how that, I don't know, how he can step in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool that it says that God changed his heart to a gentle. Yeah, he probably was about to behead her or something.
That's why she fainted.
She fainted. I feel so bad for her.
Was she still fasting at this time?
She had just gotten off her fast that morning or whatever time it is.
Oh.
So yeah, she probably like.
That could play part in it too.
Yeah. For sure. But Hamon is pretty boastful.
I was looking at that.
Right there, and where was it?
Verse 11.
Yeah. Well, my version said Hamon boasted. So about his wealth and all his sons and how well connected he is. And I read ahead this week, and so like reading in chapter 6, I was like,
What?
Dang. Okay, Hamon. We're like at the end of the line with you. I don't know.
I thought verse 10 was sort of interesting because it said that he restrained himself when he did not see Mordecai bowing down. He restrained himself.
Yeah, it says mine says he was infuriated with Mordecai. So it's like, I feel like maybe he wanted to have words or something with him.
Yeah, it seems like he wanted to have words, but he held it back. But
right. Then the next verse he goes in and is boastful. So it's like he has to like feed his ego.
Yeah. But then verse 14 says that his wife is pretty lousy.
Yeah.
Pretty lousy.
Then his wife, Zeresh, and all his friends said to him, "Let a gallows 50 cubits high be made." So his wife was like, "Hey, let's do this because Mordecai will not bow down to you."
You're saying like she's feeding in to him or egging him on in a way?
Yeah, I think she's pretty bad.
Yeah, I see it as that too.
Probably.
Like, if you've ever known someone that like a mom or dad and like their child like never like, oh no, not my child. No. Like that's kind of how I see his wife acting, like, oh, I'm married to Hamon and he is just, second to the king and blah, blah, blah. Like she's the mom like today that's like, look at what I'm driving and, oh, I just like went, I don't know, shopping at like Saks and Fifth Avenue. Like it's whatever. We just bought like our third house. Like,
yeah.
That's just kind of how I see her. I don't know if that was really like judgmental, but.
Well, in verse 14, it says, then his wife and all his friends. So it seems like not only did he boast about everything that he had, but he must have said something like, I have all this and still Mordecai doesn't bow down to me.
Yeah.
And then that's why the wife and the friends were like, well, just hang him tomorrow or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, he said all his riches were nothing because of Mordecai.
Right. And then she says, so you see, like, there's a really large, like polarity between those verses just said, and then right underneath that, the wife is like, make, a gallows that's 75 feet tall. Like, again, that's like extravagant, like over the top. And it seems like that's what he, it's like the gallows is like boastful. Like, you don't need a 75-foot gallows.
Yeah.
Like 10 feet will do the job. Like, you know what I mean? So it just seems like everything in his life was like beyond, or, to the like fullest or extreme in a boastful way. Like, I'm not only going to kill him, but I am going to do it in this huge manner.
When you compare 75 feet to like a football field, since we do that often, it's only a quarter of a football field.
Yeah, because they're yards.
Yeah.
But it's
tall-wise. That's 6 stories. It's a 6-story building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a normal house is like what, 3 stories? No, 2 stories, so it's like 3 houses up. I don't know.
He had some really deep bitterness and roots because Mordecai didn't worship him.
I want to know how you guys handle people like Hamon in real life. I know when I think of Hamon and how he's boastful, I can think of maybe 1 or 2 people in my life. And how I handle those people versus, Brennan, like I feel like I can handle it, whereas Brennan just gets mad and like is over it really fast. I don't know if that's a female thing or if that's just me. What do you guys do?
I personally I just deal with it. Like, I don't feed into that person, but I'm not rude, like, in any sort of capacity, I just try to show humbleness, but most of the time with people like that, like, I'll be quiet.
Yeah.
And I let them kind of look like how they're making themselves look. And I'm just like, cool story.
Yeah, most of the time I'll just remain quiet and then I'll try to keep myself away from them.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel that those people are talkers on top of being boastful? Is that a quality that you guys have noticed?
Yeah.
I would say they sort of have to be, since they always like to go on about what they do and how they do it better and what they have. And
One-uppers.
Yes.
Like, I'll be like, hey, like, I'm doing this like 30-day detox, and then that type of person's like, well, I actually just did a 60-day, and you're like, okay. Like, that's what I call that. I call those people one-uppers, and unfortunately, I had a best friend that we're no longer really friends anymore because she was such a one-upper. And there were times to where, like, in front of other people, she would like purposely like degrade me and then like laugh about it. And most of the time with that, like, I was just quiet, and I would just like take it or whatever. But I'm like, if you're like really a friend, like, you wouldn't do that to me.
one-uppers are also normally the type of people that will not take any type of constructive criticism.
Nope. And
They
I
never
couldn't.
are wrong.
Ever. And God forbid you like try to help them out or point something out, because then they just like come back at you.
Somehow it's turned around completely on you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's unfortunately like how this person was in my life. And so, yeah.
But
But
Jezebel spirit. There's a Hamon spirit.
I guess you could probably say that.
And see, I'd already started thinking that his wife probably had a Jezebel spirit.
True.
Yeah, there's actually on 5:14, so there's actually like a little talk passage about that, about Zeresh, his wife. It says these recommendations are much like the recommendations of Jezebel to Ahab to kill a commoner legally so he could have what he wants. Hamon was looking to make a large profit from confiscating Jewish possessions. Because, if you killed them, you could take their booty, their spoil, their whatever. It was very common. And that's just what this says, along with that she had a Jezebel spirit.
There we go.
And we know what happened to Jezebel, so.
What happened?
She got eaten by dogs.
Alive or dead?
She fell out of a window.
Okay, so maybe half dead.
Dead. Yeah.
Okay.
And they licked her up and ate her body.
Dang.
Unless I'm thinking of someone else, but I'm like 99% sure that's Jezebel.
I'm pretty sure that's.
I think you're right. I had a friend in college. She happened to be in one of my classes, and she ended up falling from a balcony, maybe like a 7-story balcony, and she ended up dying. Like not on impact, but like on the way to the hospital.
Wow.
I think she was maybe like a few years younger than me. But no, she was not eaten by dogs. But it's such a weird, like that made me be fearful of heights, even though it's such a weird thing. But because of that experience, I was afraid of heights like within a few months. It was really weird. I don't know if I'm like over my fear of heights now, but it's because of that. Anyway, side story. Side story.
Quit trying to one-up my friend's story.
Are you kidding me? This friend?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just Hamoning you.
I'm like, that was not a one-up story.
I'm gonna start using that. I'm just Hamoning.
Oh, that's so bad. Anyway,
it's really funny. Not that story, like.
Yes, Gabby.
Come on, okay. Like not her falling and it triggering like afraid of heights for you. What do you call that?
Phobia, maybe?
There's a name.
I don't know. It was weird. Like I thought people who were afraid of heights were sissies. It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
I mean, now even being on kids' playground equipment up high makes my stomach feel all weird since I've had kids.
You did tell me that. That's weird.
I don't know if it's because I go up there with the kids and I'm afraid they're going to fall off, or it's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, you did tell me that.
I feel like from what you read from the Septuagint that it also shows us that Esther has like a lot of courage too, with what's taken place, and after going through that, like fainting.
She fainted twice, right?
She almost fainted, and he went and grabbed her and held on to her until she recovered. Right?
No. Yeah, but then she passed out again, though, I thought.
Yeah, then she passed out when she started trying to butter him up some. And then while she was speaking, she fainted and fell.
So, yeah.
It says the king was troubled, and all his servants comforted her.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the king was really bothered by it.
Can you imagine though being that nervous and and fearful that you just flat out faint?
Well, I think also yeah, I've never fainted in my life.
I have. You have too, Gabby, haven't you?
Yeah, but postpartum.
I'm
I don't
like,
know if that counts.
hold yourself together, ladies. so, um, no, I've never fainted. But what was I gonna say?
There's an actual medical condition that um back when I used to watch Modern Family, they one of the episodes was based on that medical condition that if you're so stressed out or just a lot of stress, you just like fall asleep until that stress is gone. You guys ever watch Modern Family? No?
No,
Okay.
like narcolepsy,
Is that hold on, it might be it.
where you just like pass out.
How do you spell that? Or
Narcolepsy.
narco?
Um,
Mm,
there's several different like conditions though that will like people can just pass out like from standing up. Um, but I feel like kind of like what Sierra pointed out, like maybe it has. So she probably was under a lot of high stress. Okay, we see she's like in turmoil inside, even though the outside, she's beautiful and tranquil looking and peaceful, but she also just came off of that fast. And she might have even been like too nervous to eat, you know, like if you think about like your wedding day or whatever, like were you nervous to eat? Because like I hardly ate
mm.
on my wedding day. Mostly because like I had an upset stomach too, but also because like, and I didn't even really eat like at our wedding dinner, like nothing.
When I was in high school, I was a runner and I didn't drink anything but water ever. It was just water. And I ended up drinking so much water that it cleansed my body out of stuff that I actually needed. So my body had really low sodium. And I ended up passing out because of my body not having what it needed.
But it said here that her fast was no food and drink for 3 days, I thought. Um,
Yeah,
16.
fast for me, neither eating nor drinking.
But again, it could be just a water fast too, though. Who knows? But yeah, Sarah, I was reading about that drinking too much water. I think it's the opposite of dehydration. It happens a lot to soldiers. Soldiers when they're training or they're in combat, they'll get forced to drink so much water, or they end up drinking so much water they just die because they think. And I think the symptoms kind of like dehydration, so you end up drinking even more. Right?
No, it's kind of like drowning.
Yeah.
It's like internal drowning, which is weird.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. I had to look it up, I think for every pregnancy or during the summer. I'm like, I want to make sure I'm not drinking too much water. I don't want to die from drinking too much water. I can't remember what the formula is, like how much. It's over a period of an hour though. So you just have to make sure you have your intervals during a certain amount of hours. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you drink a gallon in 30 minutes, it's probably gonna happen, kind of thing. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a medical doctor. Just gonna fact check yourself. I don't know. Anyway, uh,
Okay. Do we have anything else?
I don't think I have anything.
it's a pretty short chapter.
It
So,
was.
well, that was the only thing I was mainly curious as to why she couldn't say her thing on the first feast. That was my main like concern, not concern, but my main question.
So they've already had one feast. So that means that she did eat then.
Yes.
So this is day 2 of not fasting.
No, this was...
No, they had it the same day. Because she says, let the king and Hamon come today to the banquet I have prepared for him, in verse 4.
But that's feast number 2, right?
No, that's the first feast.
The last chapter 4, ended with her doing the fast.
Yes. So that's the invite to the first feast. And then it says at the banquet, the king again, asks her for her request, and then she requests that he comes again tomorrow to another feast.
Okay. Yeah, I see that now. Still.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, I think she... for 3 days, day or night. Yeah, I think she definitely went to ask him on a fast. I think she still hadn't had anything.
Yeah, and see, verse 1 sort of makes it seem like that as well, because it says on the third day of the fast.
And the fast was not to eat or drink for 3 days or night. 3 days, night or day.
So she fasted for like 2.5, right? And on the third day, so the rest of like Israel is fasting. The rest of the nation, right? Individuals are fasting while she's approaching the king. It seems like is what's happening.
Well, let's see. It would have been that evening to the next morning. That's 1 day. Whoa. Evening, morning, evening. Okay, hold on. It has to end on the evening, so maybe, yeah, you're right, though. On the third day.
On the third day, meaning like daytime.
Though. She would have just had to fast in the morning for it to end in the evening. You know what I'm saying? The fast ended that morning at some point. Because she started the fast in the evening or whatever. Because on that day in the evening, right?
She said, well, back and forth, she says, go assemble all to be found in Shushan and have them fast for me, neither eating nor drinking for 3 days, night and day. Also, I and the girls attending me will fast the same way. Then I will go into the king, which is against the law, and if I perish, I perish. And then, on the third day, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner courtyard of the king's palace on the third day.
So, evening, no eating. Morning, no eating.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically day 1 is the next day. Then evening, and then morning, that's 2 days. Then evening and morning, that's day 3. So that morning was the last fast. I don't know exactly if that's.
But we don't know this is necessarily like in the morning. It's just saying on the third day, which I guess we're assuming because they're awake, and she goes into him. But it doesn't say that she ate at the banquet.
Does it specifically state that the fast had to start that evening?
No, she could have started it the next day.
I mean, she says, go assemble all the Jews to be found, neither eating nor drinking for 3 days, night and day.
It doesn't say. I think the night and day doesn't specify that it started at night and then it went to day. I think it's just saying don't eat day or night, like neither of them.
But she says night first.
Maybe. I don't know. Because I know some people do.
Because he came to her like in the evening, right?
I don't know.
I mean, because they're talking back and forth in chapter 4. I mean, either way, it says on the third day. So she's still fasting. So that's probably why she fainted. Because even though there was a banquet, it doesn't say that she necessarily ate.
Well, either way, though, she fainted before the banquet, no matter what.
Yeah,
Oh.
but it's probably because she's not been eating or drinking anything. And
Yeah.
on that third day, morning time, or daytime, when the sun is at daytime, she's going in to the area where the king is,
Yeah.
and then faints.
But the Septuagint did say she was fearful, so I just feel like I feel like she fainted more from fear than from lack of eating. That's just my personal opinion, though. But maybe it was both, of course. It could have been both.
I think it was both, like the stress induced, like fainting, and she didn't have like the nourishment.
Yeah.
So it's just like a layer. But because she did that, like, well, Yehovah moved the king's heart, but he was like moved with compassion and concerned for her.
True.
So, like Yehovah used that scenario to move the king. Is probably like Yehovah's plan. Yeah.
Fasting. No. All right. Well, I guess those were all my comments, and I kind of brought it back, but sorry. Anyone else have anything else?
No, I think yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess I'll make the closing comment.
Oh, okay.
You want? Yeah, go ahead and do the closing stuff.
Well, thank you to everyone that came and listened and joined along with us. You can leave questions or comments that you have for us, and I guess I should also say that we meet every Friday evening, and we try to have new content posted every Sunday morning. Is that correct, Gabby? Yes. Okay. Every Sunday morning. So look for our new videos every Sunday morning, and thank you for joining with us.